Hey guys, welcome back to the series of videos on Companies Act 2013. Today, we will be seeing the various kinds of companies that can be formed under the Companies Act. So let's begin. In part 1 of the series, we saw a brief introduction and characteristics of a company. You can find the link of part 1 in the description below. Now, in this video, we will be seeing various kinds of companies that can be formed under the Companies Act 2013 on the basis of various parameters. So let's begin. Types of companies. Companies can be formed on the basis of various parameters, that is, they can be classified on different bases. So, under this act, we have companies on the basis of incorporation, Royal Chartered Companies, statutory companies and registered companies. On the basis of liability, we have limited liability company and unlimited liability company. On the basis of number of members, the Companies Act provides for private company and public company. On the basis of control, holding and subsidiary companies, and on the basis of ownership, we have government-owned companies and non-government companies. These all companies are provided under the Companies Act 2013, and any association of persons or any body corporate can register under these of types. Now we will see each of these one by one. Classification on the basis of incorporation. Chartered companies, also called as a Royal Chartered companies. Companies that are set up as a result of a royal charter granted by a king or queen of a country are known as chartered companies. The East India Company and the Bank of England are examples of a royal chartered companies. These are the companies that were formed in the rule of a king or a queen, specifically before the forming of the Companies Act. The companies that were in existence before the formation of the Act are known as Royal Chartered Companies. But currently, such companies do not exist in India. Next, statutory companies. Companies that are set up by special acts of parliaments or state legislatures are called statutory companies. Companies that are formed by a special act or by a special legislation or passed by a special resolution. For example, under the Banking and Regulation Act, we have Reserve Bank of India that regulates all the banking structure or banking sector in India. So the Reserve Bank of India, Life Insurance Corporation of India, Unit Trust of India are some of the examples of statutory companies that means a compulsory company which was formed under this act or any other act that comes under the Indian Constitution is a statutory company. Third, we have registered companies. Companies registered under the Indian Companies Act 2013 or under any of the previous Companies Act are called as registered or incorporated companies. That means any association of person, as we see in the definition of company, any association of person that register themselves under the Companies Act, either the 2013 Act or 1956 Act, then such companies are known as registered companies and they get a certificate of incorporation. Most of companies in India belong to this category. So, on the basis of incorporation, we have three companies: Royal Chartered Companies, statutory companies and registered companies. Next, classification on the basis of liability. On the basis of liability, we have limited liability companies and unlimited liability companies. Under the limited liability companies, we have companies that are limited by shares. It is a company where the liability of the shareholder remains limited to the nominal value of the shares held by him. In a company, that is the association of persons, the persons forming the company are known as members of a company, and such members bring the amount of capital with them. The capital they bring is the share capital and the unit they hold is a share. So, the persons who hold a share are called shareholders. Such shareholders hold some amount of capital of a company which comes with a nominal value. So in this case, limited by shares, a shareholder's liability is limited to the extent of unpaid capital amount by him. For example, let's say A is a shareholder of company XYZ Limited and he has held a share of a company at ₹100 each. Now, A has paid only ₹70 up to the date. If the company XYZ gets wind up, that is, it gets closed, so the liability that extends to Mr. A is only to the amount ₹30, that is 100 minus 70. 100 is the nominal value, 70 that was paid by him. So 100 minus 70 is 30 and 30 is the only limited liability of Mr. A, as the company was registered as a limited liability by shares. The liability is limited, we get to know when we see the articles of a company. So, if the article of company mentions that this company will be formed under the limited liability that will be liable by shares, then such a company is termed as limited liability company by shares. Next is a company is limited by guarantee. In a guarantee company, the liability of a shareholder is limited to the amount he has voluntarily undertaken to contribute towards the assets of the company to meet out any deficiency at the time of its winding up. So here, a company, when it gets registered under the guarantee, that is limited by guarantee, such a company says that the liability of the members will be guaranteed. For example, let's again take an example of Mr. A, and now the company is limited by guarantee. So in this case, Mr. A has guaranteed some amount, for example ₹1 lakh. So in this case, only the liability of Mr. A, that is the member or shareholder, will be only extended to ₹1 lakh at the time of winding up of company. That means the member guarantee a voluntarily amount that they will pay out in case the company occurs any liability or during winding up. Such a company is termed as company limited by guarantee. And lastly, we have unlimited companies. Here, the liability of its members is unlimited. In other words, their liability extends to their private properties also. Though unlimited liability companies do not exist nowadays, but this is also a type that is considered under the Act. So, on the basis of liability, we have limited by shares, limited by guarantee, and unlimited companies. Next, classification on the basis of number of its members. Private company is the first type under this. A company which follows some of the features, like there is no minimum paid up capital required for forming such a company. In the previous Act of 1956, there was a limited capital, or say minimum capital of ₹1 lakh, but now this criteria has been overcome. Only the companies that has no minimum capital requirement, minimum of 2 to maximum of 200 members, the transferability of shares in the private company is restricted. That means the shares cannot be transferred freely under the company which is formed as a private company. And lastly, if a person or association of person is registering the institute or the association as a private company, he needs to add the words private limited in their names. Such a company is termed as private company. Private company with no minimum capital requirement, with minimum of 2 to maximum of 200 members. Transferability of shares under this type is restricted, and they have to put words as private limited under their names. Such a company is termed as private company. Next is the public company. So a public company is a company whose shares can be subscribed by the members or by the public. So when a person can subscribe or be a owner or a shareholder of such company is known as public company. A company that is not a private company is a public company. has a minimum of 7 members and no maximum limit to the number of its members, and in this case a minimum paid up capital of rupees 5 lakh is considered to form a public company, and there is no maximum limit for formation of such company, but a minimum of 5 lakh is required, then such a company can be termed as public company. Also here the transferability of shares can be done, it is freely movable, and a common public can also subscribe to its shares. So on the basis of number of its members, we have private company and public company. Classification on the basis of control. Holding company. A company is deemed to be the holding company of another if, but only if, that other is its subsidiary. By holding more than 50% of the normal value of issued equity capital of the company, or by holding more than 50% of its voting rights, or by securing to itself the right to appoint the majority of the directors of the other company directly or indirectly. Here we see this company by an example. Let's take an example of A Limited and B Limited. A Limited is termed to be a holding company only if A Limited holds 50% or more of the equity capital of B Limited, or A Limited holds 50% or more of the voting rights of B Limited, and A Limited can directly or indirectly appoint directors or take major decisions in the workings of B Limited, then such a company, that is A Limited, will be termed as a holding company, because A Limited is holding a power over B Limited. So holding company or A Limited is termed as a holding company. Then which is the subsidiary one? Here, by continuing to the example, B Limited is termed as subsidiary company. Subsidiary company is known as a subsidiary company of another company when its control is exercised by the latter, called holding company over the subsidiary company. Section 4 subsection 1, a company is known as a subsidiary of another company when its control is exercised by the latter, called holding company. By continuing the example, if A Limited is the holding company holding major power, major share in another, so the B Limited will be termed as a subsidiary company. So on the basis of control, the Act provides for holding company and subsidiary company. And lastly, the classification is done on the basis of ownership. First, government company. A company or a government company means any company in which not less than 51% of the paid up capital is held by central government, state government, or jointly held by central and any of the state governments. Next, one-man company. A member may hold virtually the entire share capital of a company. Such a company is known as one-man company. This can be both in a private company as well as a public company. One-man company is a new feature that was brought under the Companies Act 2013, which says that only one person can be a shareholder of a company and he can form a company. This is a new concept and a very changing concept in the Companies Act 2013. Non-profit association. Companies formed for the purpose of NGOs and not for profit earning motive, such a company can be registered under the Act and work as per the provisions of Section 8 of Companies Act. And these companies are called as non-profit association. Next we have investment company. An investment company is a company where the principal business of which consists is acquiring, holding and dealing in shares and securities. It involves only the acquisition and holding of shares and securities and thereby earning income by way of interest and dividend. Such a company can be registered under the Act as an investment company and has to follow certain norms of the Act. And lastly, we have foreign companies, where it means any company that is incorporated or registered outside India but has a place of establishment or business in India is termed as foreign company. So, on the basis of ownership, we have government companies, one-man company, non-profit association, investment company, and foreign companies. So, in the next video, we will be seeing two important documents to be prepared before the incorporation of company under the Companies Act, that is Memorandum and Articles of Association. So, stay tuned. Thank you for watching my video. Please do like, share and comment to my channel.